Welcome to Sports Talk with the Cowboy.
Thanks for riding with the Cowboy. Happy New Year 2022. Happy New Year to you, DJ X.
Happy New Year to you too, Cowboy.
We have a lot to get to tonight, so we're going to go right on into the show. We had a game Sunday against the New York Jets, as you all know, which we won in the last 15 seconds on a drive by Tom Brady. Final score was 28-24. We were behind at the time. It was a tough game against the Jets. They slashed their line most of the day. They had a good running game. They blocked out Joe Tryon most of the day. They closed him in and made a lot of runs around the edge and right up the gut. We had a lot of missed gap assignments, and the running game of the Jets was on. Gang Green ran for over 200 yards on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Sunday. It was a marvelous game for their ground game, poor game for our defensive run game. As you know, we're working with not out with Shaq Barrett not there, Levante David not there, Pierre Paul not there. Some of the great ground stoppers we need were not playing on Sunday. We got behind. We were behind by 14 points in the third quarter of the game. The New York Jets lost the game in a final drive with 15 seconds to go on the clock. That was the first time the Buccaneers led in that game with 15 seconds on the clock. We left at 12-4 for the season with one game left to go. Sunday at Raymond James Stadium against the Carolina Panthers would be the last regular season game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. Now that game was scheduled for 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It has been flexed by the network to 4 p.m. So it will be a 4 p.m. game with the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Keyshawn Vaughn, who backs him up, left with some bruised ribs. Both of them did not practice this week. So we brought in the Jet game, we had some backup running backs coming in. Le'Veon Bell, who we just recently signed, ran the ball for us, number 8, Sunday, because the other two backs were down. So we'll see what we have come this Sunday on the field, on the running back situation, without Leonard Fournette there. But we need to get a running game established before the playoffs. These are things that need to be done before we get into the playoffs. We need to get that running game tweaked. We need to get the receivers tweaked. We need to get the receivers on the same page. We have a lot to do this year going into the playoffs, and it starts one game at a time. And this Sunday's game will be critical in that we need a lot of answers. We probably won't know about the injured players till after the game with the Panthers, because we're just not going to be privy to how their recovery's been going on. Mike Evans played Sunday. He was not 100%, but he knew he had to play, and he played. He didn't make that jump that we all characteristically see him make when he gets to the defensive back and crawls up him and catches that ball, because he didn't want to re-injure his hamstring. You could notice that if you're a Buccaneer fan or a Sports Talk with the Cowboys fan, which we watch these things on these players. So I want to go on now to the Antonio Brown situation that took place at the New York Jet game on Sunday. As you all know, Antonio Brown, our wide receiver, took his jersey and pads off during the game and threw his gloves into the crowd and shot peace out signs to the crowd and then run up in the tunnel, disrupting the game. So Antonio Brown ran off the field. It was a terrible situation. Myself personally, I believe he was injured when Burkhead and Pac-Man Jones hit him in the head in that Cincinnati Bengal Pittsburgh Steeler game a few years back, 4 years back. But I think it messed up Antonio Brown. I'm not saying I'm not a psychologist, But after that, if you noticed, he had problems in Pittsburgh and left. He went and got his feet wet out in Oakland and got in a cryogenics chamber and burned his feet up. Okay. Then he chased a UPS truck down in Miami naked. Okay, got kicked off the Patriots. Okay, so the guy has some bizarre behaviors off the field. On the field, he got some problems. Okay, let's just say it like it is. The man's got problems. We knew he had problems when he came, and last year, hey, we won a ring, and everything was beautiful. But this year we've had the problems. The vaccination card problem, where you turn in a vaccination card that was not legal, and other issues, but nobody was really there for him. I don't know if they were or not. I really don't know the personal backstory. with the team that kind of kept an eye on Antonio, befriended him, became his confidant, and maybe this could have been worked out. But nevertheless, when you quit on your team, as we all know, starting in football, little league, football, pee-wee, flag, high school, college, and pro, the one thing that every coach tells you from the moment you step on the field, you can't quit on your team. And you don't quit on them in a game, and you don't quit on them when there's 14 points down in away at another stadium. You don't do it.
Right.
So that's just, what can you say? I've never seen a professional athlete in NFL do such a thing that happened the other day. And
Not very sportsmanlike.
I mean, it wasn't sportsmanlike. I mean, you had to be sit down on the bench, wait to the game. But that would be a rational person. Again, we're not talking. We think, and I think everybody must admit, the man has some mental issues.
Oh, he definitely got some mental issues.
Okay, so when you run off the field like that, I mean, you're not running. Your gas tank it's not at full. Okay, mentally. And I'm not saying the man could not go out there and play football. He has. He showed us he has. He showed us last week against the Panthers that he still could. Okay, so I'm not saying he don't have the athletic ability, but if you don't have the psychological wherewithal, you just don't have it.
Exactly.
So it was a sad situation to watch him leave, but we have to go on without him. So now we have two of our three great receivers gone. Godwin out for the year, Brown run down the tunnel. Now we have Evans, and he's not running at 100%. So now I want to go into the question and answers that we have on our show every week. And the first question is from Cindy in Avon Park, and she says, what coaches will be fired on Black Monday, the Monday after the last regular season game in the NFL? It's a good question, Cindy, and it's a question a lot of the teams that aren't going into the playoffs will be watching for their coaches or some coaches to be fired. We all know there's 32 teams in the NFL, and right now there are two positions open, one with the Las Vegas Raiders and one with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both their coaches are not on the team, so those two teams will be looking for coaches already. But we also have inside information, and we feel as if Matt Nagy in the Chicago Bears will be fired as soon as the game's over, if not before. Fangio with the Denver Broncos will be fired, whether it be after the game Sunday or on Monday with an announcement. I myself believe Mike Zimmer will be fired in Minnesota. I also believe that Matt Rule in the Carolina Panthers, he could be fired also. There could be other coaches fired. There's always a coach we do not really have on the radar that would be fired. I think there might be a retirement in the works. I think Pete Carroll in Seattle might retire. He's 71 years old. His star quarterback, Russell Wilson, there's no doubt in my mind will not be a Seahawk after this last game Sunday. And so he might not want to stick around for a rebuild that took 5 or 6 years at 71. So there could be a retirement, and that's still an open position for another head coach. It's a major thing, so they don't wait around on it. They don't sit around a week or two to contemplate in their mind what they're going to do about a new head coach. They're going to do it. They're going to pull the trigger on it fast, and they're going to try to hire a head coach as fast as they can. So that's a good question, Cindy. I do believe there's going to be at least 3 firings or 3 people let go on Black Monday with the 2 jobs already open. So there'll at least be 5 positions, and there could be up to 7 or 8 by the time that it's all over. So thank you for your question, Cindy, and God bless you. And the next question is from Tony, and Tony asks, what about the Miami Dolphins? And Tony, we addressed a question from Judy a few shows back about the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are in a very tough situation with their quarterback Tua, whether or not to keep him, what the direction of the team's going to be. They won 7 or 8 games in a row at the end of the year. I think they were 1-7, and then they went on that 7 and 8 game winning streak. They got beat Sunday by the New England Patriots. They're not going to make the playoffs. There's nothing explosive on that team, nothing to build on my opinion. They've got a good receiver, that Waddle. He's a great receiver, and they've got some other players that are up and coming, good players. But there's just something missing in Miami. I don't know what it is. if Brian Flores gets fired, the coach of the Miami Dolphins, I don't want to put out any rumors prior, but if he got fired, it might not be a surprise either, okay? Because some of these owners don't want to sit around. They see these other teams be successful, and they don't want to sit around. They give you 2 or 3 years. They give you all the money that you want, and if it don't work out, you say la vie. And they'll eat the $50 million, believe it or not. They just say, here's $50 million, goodbye. They'll do it, especially when you're a billionaire. So the Miami Dolphins are in flux. I felt that New England Patriot game was a very big sign. Could they play up? Could they play when they needed to play? Could they play in somewhat of a capacity to show that they were competitive against a good team, and they just didn't get it done. And then the Titan game Sunday, they just laid down and got beaten bad. And we're going to have to stay tuned to Miami in the next week, because they could be breaking news down in Miami. It would not shock me if that was to happen. And God bless you, and thank you for your question. DJ X, what do you got for me?
Well, Cowboys today on USA, we got Michigan football's Aiden Hutchinson declares for NFL draft, says farewell. What you think?
At Aiden Hutchinson, he was a motor to that Michigan Wolverine run. Of course, we all know they were beaten badly by Georgia, but this Aiden Hutchinson was a good player. Players just rallied around. A tough little player. I think he'll be playing on Sunday next year. I think he'll be a top 5 pick in the draft in April. He is a real good prospect, every bit as good as Joey Bosa as far as I'm concerned. And he came out first round pick with the LA Chargers. So I believe he will be a top 5, top 10 pick in that draft. And he's a remarkable young player. He's put on a little bit of size to get in the NFL, but he's got a lot of speed. He got a lot of football intelligence, and he looked real. He led that Michigan team in the defense.
Definitely be following him here.
Now, yeah, we'll be following him on Sunday. He's a Sunday player.
All right, Yard Barker says Broncos place Teddy Bridgewater, Kareem Jackson, Dalton Reisner on IR. What you think?
Well, that's it for the Denver Broncos. You know, they were out last week after they were beaten. And now they put their first strings players on IR. They're all nicked up through the season. Yeah, the Denver game this week's not going to be much of nothing, but you guys have got a ticket going out there and support the Broncos to see what they have in the future. I don't think they'll have the same head coach. Frankly, I don't know that Teddy Bridgewater will be the starting quarterback next year, because I don't think they're going to have the same head coach. So they're going to have a lot of things change in Denver. So maybe for a lot of the Denver Broncos, including those starters that he just mentioned, they probably, this might be their last game last week.
Interesting. All right, we got Larry Brown Sports Report. Bears have informed Matt Nagy of their decision.
Well, we just covered it with Cindy's question, and I think they have, and I think Matt Nagy is fired. Okay, Tony Dungy, the great coach of our Tampa Bay Bucks and the Indianapolis Colts, was brought in by the McCaskies, who own the Chicago Bears, last week to consult on the new coach. That doesn't bode well if you're still hired as a head coach, because they didn't bring that guy in to consult for a new head coach if you're really going to keep your job. I don't think you need to consult.
Right.
So Matt Nagy, I think he's been informed that Sunday will be his last game, and be sure that you'll hear Adam Schefter break that story within minutes of the last whistle of the Chicago game that it's official that Matt Nagy's has fired. But I think the McCaskies are a class enough organization that they went ahead and gave him a heads up prior to that, being broke. Of course, he could see the writing on the wall with that consult.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your question, and thank you, DJ X. They was interesting questions, and God bless y'all for your support. And I want you to continue to share, and I want you to continue to subscribe, and I want you to like our show or dislike our show, but watch the show. And leave your comments so that we can ask your questions on our Q&A. And we'll see you next time. Go Bucks Sunday. God bless you. Cowboy out.